Welcome to A Woman's Brew, where women talk about beer. It's a new year, but the same A Woman's Brew. Today, we're visited by the ghosts of Christmas pairings and resetting our beer goals for 2025. I'm Joanne, and this is Tori.
Hello, hello.
And we're two beer-loving women on a mission to get more people drinking and talking about great beer. Come join us. Oh, I felt like I was very enthusiastic there.
You were. It was good.
It's a new year.
You ended on a high.
Yes, it's a new year. We're enthusiastic about beer and all the things.
All the things. This was meant to be this started off as an episode we were just going to do. We're like, look, we were waiting for the Drink Harder challenge to come out for 2025. We were like, oh, we'll just do a whole separate episode at the start of Jan, which would be like beer goals, we'll reset, we'll wipe the slate clean. And then I had an idea that I was like, what if we did getting rid of our, leftovers from Christmas, getting rid of, how in 2025 at the start of the year everyone goes, oh, let's get all the unhealthy stuff. You start January really healthy, and then towards December that's it, you've given up. I gave up already in January because I was like, life's too short.
I don't do this nonsense, but Gordon has this thing where he's like, but if I eat it now then it's gone, and then then I can be healthy after that. And I'm like, yes, but you've just eaten an entire bar of chocolate.
Well, in my case, I'm several pots of cheese.
right, exactly. So I'm like, you could have spread that out a little bit and enjoyed it. No,
I'm virtually in a cheese coma. I think I just exist in a plane of cheese. For us, it was Merry Cheesemas. That is where I am at right now. But I thought, you know what, we need to get some of the stuff and let's at least push out the old and bring in the new. So I thought we could combine, because we're resetting goals, we're resetting our refrigerators. So there we go. There we have it. So I thought we'd start. What are you pairing today? Because maybe that's what we can go with. You don't have to tell me the beer, but tell me what food you're pairing with.
So I've got Gordon and I were just talking about this. So we were just watching a program where it was a Thanksgiving episode. And they got to the end of it and they were putting away the leftovers. And it was a whole table of food. And Gordon was like, that's a whole other fancy meal. It's not just, bits left over. There was entire pies and, side dishes and all of this. And we've just never done that in either of our families. You kind of make enough for the people that are there. And then, you might have a bit of turkey or gammon left over, but there's not whole amounts of things left over. So I was like, I like this idea. I don't know what I've got left over, but generally what gets left over in our house is, as you say, cheese.
Yep.
And chocolate. So I've got 3 different types of chocolate. I've got a cheese, and I've got some honey barbecue crisps.
Ooh, nice.
I know. So I was like, those are 3 just interesting things. Some of them, it's pairings that we've probably talked about before, but we'll give you a bit of a refresher. It also gave me a chance to go through my fridge and pull out some beers that need drinking, which is another good reason for doing this. Have a bit of a clear up in the beer fridge as well. But yeah, I've got some things here that we can pair and we see what happens.
Well, that's it. This was all about clearing out our fridges of food and beer and resetting fresh for the new year. And I'm not saying we're clearing out everything out the fridges, but some of the stuff, if what you have in your house is literally the stuff that we've talked about before, that's fair enough. But it's still stuff that you bought for the holidays and you were like, you know what, we got some. Let's finish snacking and wipe the slate clean, really. But yeah, I think that I feel like that is quite a cultural difference, actually, because I think from my experience, US holidays and parties and everything, people want to make enough so that nobody leaves hungry.
Yeah.
And that, because you can't predict how much someone's going to eat. So it's kind of a little bit plan for however many people you're expecting, and then an extra however many based on how big that number is. So you always want to have enough for an extra portion, because you're well, you don't know how hungry someone's going to be. You don't know how much they're going to eat, whatever. So whether it's a Super Bowl party and you're oh, here's all the things that we love to eat. People, it's interesting actually, because I think when you go to restaurants in the US, it's the same. You get big portions of food, but no one expects you to eat the whole portion of food.
Yeah.
A lot of people take it home, put it in the fridge, have leftovers. I think that is what happens in the US a lot. It's you don't expect that everyone's going to eat it, but you have enough just in case.
I'd never experienced taking stuff home from a restaurant
Wild.
the first time I was in the US. And like we went, I think we'd gone out or we'd had dinner somewhere, and then I'd gone over. I did an international exchange when I was at uni, and so I was with my student friends. We'd been to someone's house for dinner, and then we went out for dessert, and I got a peanut butter and chocolate pie or something, like a slice of this.
It's like huge.
It
probably.
was massive, and like I had a little bit of it, and I was like, "Oh God, this is so huge!" And they were like,
and it's rich like, usually as well.
And it was it was so good, but I was like, I'm not gonna be able to eat all of this. Like after we just had a full dinner as well, and then like the waitress came over, was like, "Oh, can I get you a box for that?" And I was like,
what?
And they were like, "Oh yeah, they'll put it in a box and you can take it home." And I'm like, "What now?" And they were like, "Oh, don't do." I was like, "We don't do that at home." I mean, I think we do now. I think
we do now,
that do that now.
Even 10 years ago,
what was that? 2004, and I was like, "Oh, this was a mind blowing concept to me that I could take this home and like put it in my fridge and have it tomorrow." Like,
I would say do that. Still wasn't even common a decade ago. Because when I moved here, 11 years ago, I would go to restaurants, I wouldn't be able to eat everything, and I would be like, oh, like people wouldn't ask me if I wanted anything; they'd just take the dish away and throw it out, and I was like, oh,
where's my food gone?
Oh, no, and then I had to learn how to ask for it, and then I got self-conscious about asking for it because I was like, oh, now I'm asking for a box, and not everywhere had boxes, so I was like, oh yeah, that's weird and interesting. So yeah, I think I'm just used to the culture of like, you make enough for everybody, you make enough knowing there's leftovers. You want to make all the favorites, and sometimes making all the favorites in enough of a quantity to make it worthwhile means you end up with leftovers because people can't eat that much.
See, we don't even do that thing where you have like serving dishes with like that's the potatoes and that's for the meat. No.
Do you not even do that?
We don't do that. No, I've never had serving dishes like that. So you cook it all, and then we all come around with up, and then you get.
Oh yeah. To be fair, yeah.
And so then it's like it's not put on the table. So like I can get if you've got. Like,
that's so weird. I never thought of that.
No, like when I've seen, when I've seen that on American television and things, and I'm like, oh, that's fancy. Like we don't. No.
Well, I kind of picture them being same. I picture them being same because it's like instead of putting these things on the table, they're being put in the kitchen, and you walk around the kitchen as opposed to passing it around a table.
Yeah, you kind of just do that, but they're still in whatever they were cooked in. Like you don't put it in another vessel and then put it on the table. Like
I literally never thought of that. But I think because of the fact that when we are in the UK for Christmas, we like to like hunker down as well and not have to go out too many times. Yeah. So we like to be like, let's just get all the faves. Let's get all the faves. And Christmas crisps, for example, like seasonal crisps in the UK, like the UK's crisp game is so good, and you can't just buy like one bag because then you sound like another one that sounds really nice. You're like, well, I need to have that one as well, and then you're like, oh, and then that cheese only comes out at this time of year, so I need to get that cheese. Right? It's the cheese. So I think that's kind of seasonal cheeses and seasonal crisps, and then like getting like biscuits in large quantities. So our leftovers tend to be, chocolates of any kind, whether that is biscuits or like biscuit chocolate or chocolate bars, crisps, charcuterie stuff, dips, because obviously I'll make like American dips and stuff, and I'll have that for like, because I'm also kind of counting New Year's as part of this as well, so we have like party food, so we tend to have maybe like biscuits left over or picky bits in party food. Panettone, we buy panettone every year and we never actually like get around to eating it. So yeah, lots of desserts tend to be what we have. Like we host New Year's Eve when we're in the UK, and there doesn't tend to be, we don't tend to do roast or anything like that because that's what we have on Christmas Day. So we're like, oh, what can we have? So we always try to do something different. So last year we did like pizzas and Italian stuff. This year we did Japanese food, so we had some like Asian dumplings and stuff left over that we ended up eating and stuff, and we did ham for Boxing Day. So like I don't have that today. So what I've got is I've got two different kind of crisps, cheeses, buffalo chicken dip, I got panettone, I got some crackers, I've got,
you got a face there.
I have got biscuits. Oh my god, can I show you? These are cool. So these are cool. These biscuits, really posh, expensive biscuits that I shouldn't have spent the money on, but I panicked because I couldn't find fun snack boxes.
They're crackers ones. I've got some of those. I've got
Peter's Yards.
Peter's Yard. I've got rosemary and sea salt ones, which I'll tell you about in a minute.
How good is this though? It comes with a little wheel.
Oh, that's cool. Did it tell you what to put on it?
Yeah. So it says,
that's cool.
Choose your cracker, pick some accompaniments, select your cheese style. talk about that maybe when we get to the actual, because that's my last one. That's my last one, is that.
What does it say? All right, well, when we get to my rosemary and sea salt, I want to know what it says.
Okay, yeah, because I've got rosemary and sea salt as well, so perfect. And then I'll show you, if you're watching the video, this is very visual. This is not a...
Yeah.
I've got Costco biscuits.
Oh.
And this is the problem.
Chocolate dipped biscuits.
Look at this tin, and it's not just because my hands are
small.
small. This is a big tin. Look how many are left, and we've been snacking on these. And there's a whole second untouched.
Oh, and you haven't even started the second layer.
Still wrapped. So I was like, you know what? Let me put a dent in some of those. Rick, as I took them out, he was like, "All right, let me grab a bicky." I've never heard him called a biscuit a bicky before. I don't think.
You never?
And no, and I went, "What?" I've never heard him say it.
Okay.
And I went, "What did you just call them?" And he's like, "Let me grab a bicky." And I was like, Don't say that. Don't do that. That just doesn't sound right coming out of his mouth. But then I don't actually have these because they're in a plastic bag, put away, like sealed off. But I thought I'd show you the box. We had some of these Lindt chocolate pralines because they were at Costco. Ooh. But what I want to say is that basically they're these sizes. There's these small little like chocolate pralines. We've got loads of them left. And I didn't take them for this because what I thought I was going to do instead was try to do... Rick and I did date ideas for each other for Christmas. And I thought one of the things was we could do like a beer and chocolate pairing, so it's pairing things that we both love. So I was like, those are actually really perfect for beer and chocolate pairing.
I've got a printable kit for that, by the way.
Perfect. There's a printable kit. In case you didn't know, there's a printable kit. I'm adding that to the bingo card. I'm adding that to the bingo card. Wait. People are going to be like, what are you actually talking about? I'm adding that. Should I say Joe does a self-plug?
Joe does a kit for that.
Or there's a kit for that. I'll count them both. So that's what I'm pairing today with my first course is going to be crisps. Two types of crisps.
Well, I'll do my crisps first then. Actually, my crisps were the hardest ones to decide what to pair with it. While we're talking about fancy crisps, did you see the Wensleydale and cranberry ones from Tyrrell's?
I think I did, but I didn't get them because...
I did get them.
Oh, were they good?
As well, they were good. I don't have any left because they were good. Although, like, because it was a big sharing bag, like, you'd only want, like, a few. You wouldn't, like, they're not like, I'm going to eat this entire sharing bag to myself type crisp. Well, because they were an interesting flavour.
Do you know how sometimes they do sharing bags though, and a lot of it's air, and then you open it and you're like, this wasn't a sharing bag.
This is not a sharing bag.
This was an individual bag.
Don't tell me that this has got 4 servings in it because you are incorrect.
Oh yeah, like serves 4, fat controller laughs, you are wrong. That is the meme that is the meme that pops up anytime someone's like serves 4. I'm like, ha ha ha, you are wrong. No.
My brother likes to use that one a lot.
We use that meme all the time. Every time we're cooking anything and we're like, serves 4. We're like, no, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
In this house, it serves 2.
So I've got honey barbecue crisps from...
I love honey barbecue.
They are from Marks and Spencer.
Ooh. I went half posh, half not posh. And I'm not sure which pot is which at the moment, but I've got one of turkey tikka masala. Oh. And I've got one, and that's co-op. So that's my non-posh one. Okay. And then my M&S collection, and this one is fancy AF. It is, I took a photo of it so I could say it properly. Prosciutto and formaggio.
Oh,
because we can't just call it ham and cheese. Yeah, but like there's lots of cravats involved, so that's why it's
that's an in joke.
Prosciutto and formaggio because there's lots of cravats. I'm not sure which one is which, but I do have 2 different beers because of different reasons. But before we talk about that, I just want to say as well, this helped me. This book, The Crisp Sommelier.
Oh,
I kept this one quiet from you because I wanted to take this out at the right moment. And it's by Neil Ridley. It's a book for anyone that didn't see what I just held up. It's a book by Neil Ridley called The Crisp Sommelier. And it's the ultimate guide to crisp and drink pairing. And
I want a copy of that book.
It basically goes through... I mean, you might have a copy of the book. So it goes through different ones. So you've got beer, you've got different wines. You got red wine, white wine, sparkling wine, then light beers, dark beers, cocktails. And it's just pairing and saying what they pair with and why. So, yeah, I thought I'd introduce that.
That looks like an amazing book. I love
Yeah,
that.
I thought you'd
love that we've both
appreciate
got
that.
crisps. Yeah, definitely. What are you pairing with your crisps?
So I have got a Hefeweizen and I've got a blonde ale. And
Nice.
basically the reason why I picked those was like when I looked at so if I just open up, because I can do that, when I opened up the book on what I should pair with crisps, I was trying to think like, so the turkey tikka masala, like I took a bite of one and it's not massively spicy or anything because I know tikka masala is not, but there was no real like spice to it. It wasn't as like curry flavored as I was expecting it to be. It had a little bit more like kind of almost cheesiness to it some reason. And it said wheat beers were good to pair with creamy, cheesy, zesty, and malty. So I thought that could be a decent one. And obviously the ham and cheese one, that one would be decent with that. And it basically said if you do wheat beer, perfect pairing partners include Walker's Wotsits cheese, Walker's Quavers cheese, and crunchy banana chips. So I know those aren't really quite like what I said, but I thought the cheesy note, I thought it'd be interesting to see how that banana-y flavors and all that kind of go with some of this. Some of my pairings I took big swings on because I was interested. And then the blonde basically says it pairs well with malty, spicy, fruity, zesty, smoky, and it suggests pairing with punchy paprika and Tyrell's smoked paprika crisps. Okay. So the only one I thought I probably should have tried was the Saison, but I didn't really have any smaller bottle Saison or anything like that. All my Saisons tend to be like bigger bottles, but that one goes with like chicken and spices and stuff.
Does it suggest anything for barbecue flavoured crisps? Because I wasn't sure what to do for mine.
Let me see. Hang on, let me have a look through. What did you do? Tell me what you did do.
My first thing was like, well, barbecue, I feel like a lager of some sort will go with it. I didn't have very many lagers, but I do have the Jump Ship No Quarter Pacific Pils. So we're going to try that with it. That's a non-alcoholic beer, so that might be interesting. And then I was like, do you know what? I feel like a wheat beer might go quite well with it. So I've got Kobold, which is a wheat beer from Tartarus. So I thought we'll try those and we'll see what happens.
So yeah, there's IPAs. Was it IPAs I was looking at? No, that's not the one. Pilsners, if you want like ham and cheese and those ones. I didn't have a Pilsner, that's why I didn't pick that. Okay, dark beers, really. It says that is good for meaty, oniony, salty, malty, herby, nutty. So that one, the only reason I suggested that potentially, not necessarily barbecue, but the perfect pairing suggested for a bitter ale is Piper's Great Berwick Longhorn Beef, flame grilled steak, Sussex crisp, beef with horseradish crisp. So I thought that's kind of like meaty, so not the same. And then you do have stouts and porters with bacon fries and smoky bacon crisp.
Well, I do also have a dark lager in the fridge. So
Red ale.
Try that.
Here you go. Here's the perfect one. Red ale pairs with pop chip barbecue, Pringles Texas red barbecue sauce.
Oh, that would definitely go with these. Have I got a red ale? I don't think I have. I'm going to try a dark lager. You know what? We're just going to mix it up. We'll try a dark lager.
Try it.
I'm not going anywhere tomorrow. I'll try, this is a non-alcoholic Pilsner, and then the wheat beer. Let's just try all of them.
Yeah. I'm not being funny. I've got some of them that I might revisit, so I'm not going to eat all the crisps. So, yeah. There's so many that would go. I would love to just kind of get a type of crisp and just try to play around with the pairings where there's crossover to be like, what's actually good. And it will literally say, this beer's recommended, this type of crisp is recommended. Like, here's a brand you can get that is recommended for that style. And
this feels like it's another episode waiting to happen.
Potentially.
Suggest what crisp you want us to pair with different beers.
Girl, listeners. I went out and bought the beer and chocolate pairing book for Rick as well. Because I didn't get a copy and I wanted one. So, but also it was part of Rick's Christmas present. If we're talking about pairings, I'll also say as well, the other thing I got him for Christmas was cookies and beer, which is pairing cookies and beer together, as you'd expect. You've got all the good books. Yeah, and then I've got beer and food matching, and this one, which is beer, food, and flavour. I will say the hardest one to get was the cookies and beer. That was arguably the hardest one. And I think I even had to get a used copy, but it's in like perfect condition. So
nice.
Thought that would be a bit fun. Yeah. So should we dig in?
let's. I think I'm going to start with the Pacific Pils.
So yeah, I don't know which crisps are which. I'm going to go with my Hefeweizen first, I think.
Okay. I've got my Pilsner. It is like a hopped Pilsner, so that might make a difference.
All right. I'm going to have to just figure out which one I'm having. I think it's the tikka masala. I don't really know any of the techniques to how to do crisp and beer pairing yet, because I haven't read the intro part.
I figure it's kind of similar to how you do the other stuff. So like you'd start eating the food and then kind of use the beer to clean it away, if that makes sense. I don't think this one is strong enough to hold up to the flavours of the crisps. The crisp, like, because it's non-alcoholic, it's not got quite as much body, which when I'm drinking it isn't a problem, because I thought this was quite a good non-alcoholic beer version. But putting it up against a strongly flavoured crisp like these honey barbecue, it's not got enough body to put up against it. So non-alcoholic lager is not a win.
So I think the Hefeweizen with the tikka masala, it's similar in that when I had the Hefeweizen on its own, it was like the lovely banana clove. It was really, there was like this sweetness to it. It was really nice. But when I had it with the crisp, it almost brought out a little bit more bitterness to it. And it kind of like, you didn't really get the tastes that make it that Hefeweizen.
Yeah.
And try the blonde now. Basically, I've got the keep it to trolls that you.
I've not tried that yet. Is it good?
Yeah, I took a sip and it's just like really nice. I took a sip on its own because I was like, I kind of obviously need to know what it tastes like on its own. And it's got this like really lovely like fruity taste to it, which I don't think I was expecting it to be as sweet.
Yeah.
I think. Like I didn't expect it to have as much sweetness as it did. And then I think sort of like the back end of the taste is very... like you taste the strength. So it is a 7% beer, whereas the Hefeweizen is a 5.8%.
Okay.
And like the blonde doesn't taste like a 7% until you kind of get to the back end of the sip, and then you're like, oh, that's where the booziness is hidden behind that like really lovely sweetness. So
I'm going to try my wheat beer. That has also been a little bit foamy for me.
I think the blonde goes quite well with it, actually, with the tikka masalas. I'm going to try the posh ham and cheese one now. I feel like you have to have like a crisp before, like you have to have one on its own before you start eating.
Yeah. Right, so I'm going to have wheat beer with my honey barbecue. Well, I quite like that.
The honey barbecue and the wheat beer. Nice. Do you still get, like, do you lose the barbecue? Does the barbecue hold up well with it? Or?
Yeah, the barbecue is, it doesn't detract any from the barbecue flavour. And these are multigrain as well, so it's not just, your regular crisp. The clove goes quite nicely with that kind of barbecue-y flavour. And then there's like the kind of the pop of citrus in this as well. Quite nice.
Yeah, because I was thinking the wheat bit, like the honey element of it might go quite well.
Yeah, it does. It kind of melds quite well with the flavours you get from wheat there.
Yeah, so I think the blonde goes quite well with both. Both of my crisps. The Hefeweizen's not bad. Like, I think I could have it with both, but I think you almost lose the best part of the Hefeweizen when you're pairing it.
I get what you mean.
Like, these flavours don't complement it as much, if that makes sense.
All right, I'm going in for a third beer.
Oh, what's your third beer? I love you, like, going in for the third one.
I've got a dark lager, and I've got dark lager from Sacred Profane. So,
oh yeah, I still have mine.
yeah.
I still have mine. Haven't opened it yet. Well, I will say as well, when I was making dinner, while you're sipping that, while I was making dinner, I made dinner out of leftovers as well.
Yeah, did you?
I had leftover ham hock, and I made or gammon. Sorry, I keep calling it ham, but Rick's like gammon. But it was like it was a gammon that we got from Lidl that had mulled. It was like a mulled wine gammon. So it was actually really quite nice. The mulling spices went well with it. How's the crisps? I'm looking at you. I feel like you're taking it in. How's the crisp?
This is really interesting. So this is this dark lager's all got almost a bit of smokiness about it, and so it's making the barbecue flavour quite smoky as well.
Ooh, in a good way or
it's
bad
nice.
way?
No, in a good way. Like it's making the crisp taste quite different from what the wheat beer did. It's really interesting.
Nice. But yeah, so I had this gammon, and I basically was like, oh, let's have a carbonara for dinner. So instead of using pancetta, I just sliced up the remaining bits of gammon, and that was all, because we've been using it with cheese all week as well. And I'm like, I can't just have it with straight cheese anymore, can I? So instead I put a bit of egg with the cheese and the pasta. So, but it was really good. So speaking of using up things for recipes and kind of tying that in with beer, do you have any like go-to things that you would go, okay, I've got this left over, I've got this beer that I don't like, say somebody's like gifted you a type of beer that you're like, oh, I don't really want that much. That's not really my vibe. Or I've had that already, I've got some spare cans, or something's just gone past its best before date and you're kind of like, yeah, I don't really want to drink it all on its own. Do you have any go-to recipes to kind of like clear out leftovers in your fridge and utilize the beer?
Any sort of lager works really well in pizza dough.
True.
We got gifted some questionable beers for Christmas.
Well, because you like craft beer, so
yeah, we got crafted some, gifted some ones, and I was like, oh, lovely. And they gave us 2 boxes, one for me and one for Gordon.
Lovely.
Like, oh, lovely. And it came home, and I'm like, what's in this? Oh, there's some lagers. We can make pizza dough with that. That's fine.
That'll keep you pizza dough in for a while.
I'll use it in pizza dough. I was like, I can get 4 pizzas out of this box. It's great. And then any sort of stout in chocolate brownies.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a go-to as well. For sure.
And a dark, like, I use Old Peculiar when I make from scratch beer mac and cheese.
I don't think I've ever actually just had Old Peculiar. Like,
I quite like Old Peculiar on its own. It's quite nice.
Never really had it. I know it's like a staple, but yeah, I've just never had it.
An old ale, I want to say, is the style of it. It adds to kind of that richness. And actually, beer brining chicken in Old Peculiar is really nice.
Oh, I imagine that's probably not, because I just do a normal brine, but I never thought to beer brine it.
Yeah, beer brine, chuck some beer in, some garlic, some salt. It's good stuff.
All right, I'm gonna have to give that a go.
Yeah.
Well, I was doing some search of what I had at the house to be like, what could I do with what I had? Panettone being the one that was like that's the one that we eat the least amount of, but we kind of feel like that one's like, this one sounds nice. Let's try that.
Could you make beer bread and butter pudding?
You could.
But with the panettone instead of the bread.
You could. And that was the first thing that came up. And that was what I was thinking, as I was like, what can I make? And all these things that I found for all these different items were things that you can realistically work beer into as well. If you want, like, you don't have to, you could just make it without, or you could go, you know what, I want to put a beer twist on it. They're either things that you could look to pair a beer with, or mix a beer in, cook with it. So for panettone, I found bread pudding, tiramisu, where you replace the lady fingers with thin slices of the panettone. And because I don't know if I mentioned, my panettone is a coffee and chocolate panettone, because I don't do dry fruits. I don't do dry fruits. So I was like, you know what? Let's get one that has 0 dried fruits in it. And I don't think there is. From what I ate, there was no dried fruits. It was all chocolate. So that would be so perfect
in your house.
Well, I mean, Rick had some toasted, and I went into the kitchen and I was like, oh my God, it smells amazing. Speaking of toasted, you can make French toast. And you can kind of, like, where you do the eggy batter, you can put some beer in with that as well. Trifle. So I found a recipe from Beer Advocate, which was a beer-soaked English trifle.
Okay.
So you could use those pieces to
Instead
be
of
part of
sherry.
like you could use beer to kind of like soak whatever into. I didn't look at specifically what they use the beer for in this particular recipe. I think it's to probably soak the sponge elements of it, but you'd use that panettone to be that spongy element. So I thought that was quite interesting actually, and that article was nice. Chocolate fondue dippers, so like you can make the chocolate fondue using beer.
Okay.
And then you'd basically anything you have left over, including panettone, which you can cube up, you can then use for the dipping element of the chocolate fondue. At Valentine's Day, this is a great idea for Valentine's Day.
That's
if you've got these leftovers and
you're
you're like, oh, panettone keeps for so long, because we looked it up, we're like, how long does this keep? It keeps a really long time. And I found a recipe on craftbeering.com that was a hazelnut brown ale chocolate fondue, which sounds so nice. 5 stars from 15 reviews. That's double-digit reviews. And to maintain a 5-star, that's great. So I found that and I thought that would be nice. And that also takes care of some other things. If you just got plain like shortbreads and other things left over as well that are like slightly longer shelf life, you can do a fondue with that. If you are like what you said, a traditional Thanksgiving feast or Christmas feast, if you do it like Thanksgiving and you have loads and loads of leftovers, obviously you can make sandwiches. But my idea was like, obviously I had ham in this example.
Yeah.
What if you did a croque monsieur, but you made the bechamel sauce with cheese? You made the bechamel sauce with the beer in the cheese sauce.
Yeah.
Like I bet that would be, depending on the beer that you used as well, could really add like a dimension of flavour. That would be absolutely banging, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Or gravy, like you could work it into a gravy.
Yeah.
So if you did a steak or whatever, you could be doing that. Cheese, obviously, that's the easy one. Like if you've got chunks of cheese, you can make dip. You can make beer cheese dip. And obviously, you've got leftover bread from the holidays, use that to dip in. Pies. So I found, obviously you've got like your go-to, which is like steak and ale, but I tried to look at things that weren't steak and ale. So I found 2 recipes. One was a chicken and turkey or ham pie. So it's turkey leek and bacon with white beer, which that sounded really, really nice. And then a shepherd's pie came up, which I thought this was an interesting combination. Turkey and Guinness. I was like, I would have never put turkey and Guinness together. But turkey and Guinness shepherd's pie. It just sounded interesting. But it just kind of demonstrated like you can mix lots of different types of flavour profiles together and create some sort of pie or pie adjacent item with whatever your leftovers are really, or a stew or a chili, or insert any of those type of recipes together. Those are all the ones that I found that I thought I would share with you. That would be interesting.
Those are really good. I like those.
Speaking of my panettone, should we go for round 2? Because I'm eyeing it up.
I think I'm going to go for cheese next.
Ooh. I'm saving my last one because the buffalo chicken dip is just going to take my palate out. Yeah. So that's why that one is last for me.
I want to end with dessert, so I'm leaving the chocolate till then. So can you pull out the cracker wheel, please, and tell me which cheeses it says to go with the rosemary and sea salt sourdough crackers, please?
Okay, so you want the wheel.
You want the wheel, and what does it pair with the rosemary and sea salt?
So the rosemary and sea salt, the accompaniments listed are parma ham and cherries, and the cheese style says wrapped, Cornish yog, bannon, Mont d'Or, roll right. Never heard any of those things.
Any of those cheeses are.
I can tell you what the other ones are, just for reference. So you've got the normal standard, because this was a 4-pack that came with this. And it was the original sourdough was paired with cornichons, which I don't know what that is, cured meats, and then washed rind cheese, which is gubine. I don't know if I've pronounced that right. Saint Nectaire, Epoisses, and Taleggio. Which, again, haven't heard of any of those things.
That's the first cheese I've heard of off of this wheel.
Then there's rye and charcoal, And those are paired with pickle and dried fruits, and it's crumbly cheese, so goat's cheese, Cheshire, Lancashire cheese. I'm guessing, like, I've seen cheese that say like Cheshire or Lancashire, but it's never been like crumbly. I know what goat's cheese is, so there we go. This one I wanted to use, but the pack's not open yet, so I feel like it's a waste to open it for like 2 crackers.
Yeah.
Pumpkin and sunflower seed.
Ooh.
And it says to pair that with apples and apricot chutney.
Yeah.
And then it says to use hard cheese, which is cheddar, aged Gouda, and Gruyere. I'm like, this one's probably the one. Yeah. This one's the one for me, that was made all around, because I'm autumn colours. And then, the rosemary and sea salt sourdoughs, the parma ham, cherries, and the wrapped cheese. So.
Well, I'm not going to do that. I am going to
I won't be doing that.
Because I've been eating these with creamy blue cheese, and it has been chef's kiss delicious.
Nice.
So you're supposed to be able to pair blue cheese with stout or barley wine. Now, I have pulled out Ridge Run Stout from Backwards Brewing, which is just supposed to be like a stout. So we're going to see if this goes with it. I've just tasted a bit of it, and it's quite chocolatey, so I'm not sure if it's going to go with it. But I think with the rosemary crackers, I've also got a creek, so I think that might go really well with it. So I might pop that open as well. So we'll see how we go.
So with my panettone and my biscuits, I have got St. Austell's Cardinal Sin, the Abbey double.
Ooh, yeah.
And I also, so that was meant to be my pick, and I picked it because I think we can probably link to it. There was a really helpful, she says as she opens it. We might have talked about this before. We've done pairings before. The Brewers Association has a link to like a matching chart. And my panettone's not really like the standard type of panettone. So like when I Google what to pair with panettone, it was kind of telling me lots of stuff that I was like, I don't know if that's going to bring out the flavors that it thinks it is. Yeah. But when I looked at the Abbey double, because there's a section for suggested food, cheese, and dessert. And the suggested dessert says heavenly with milk chocolate, butter truffles, and chocolate bread pudding. And I think the bread pudding aspect of that and the milk chocolate aspect of that, I was like, oh, that could do really, really, really well there.
Yeah.
And also I feel like I kind of wanted to try the double with a few other things, because there's a few other things that I was like, oh, it looks like it's going to pair really well. But I was only going to have that one until you were like, I might have 2. One of my runners up was barley wine and an oatmeal stout, because it was saying an oatmeal stout was actually, it suggested that would go really well with chocolate espresso cake. Yeah. But I ended up going for, because all of these are either like probably minus maybe this double, are either like just past their best before. I mean, one of them is quite past their best before, or going out of date in Jan. So I was like, you know what? Let's clear that fridge out. So this one has a best before date of January 2023. So I'm a year out on this, but it's a barley wine. It's an American barley wine.
Hey.
So I thought it might be okay. So it's Elusive Sunset City. So sorry, Andy.
He's not going to be a friend of the show anymore.
Next time I see him, he's going to be like, why did you drink that? Why did you drink that? Why did you keep that an extra year? But actually, it tastes fine. Tastes absolutely fine. And so I thought that might pair with some of these things as well. So I thought I'd give it a go.
All right. I've got my cheese on my cracker.
Okay, report back.
Here we go. We're going to try. So I just don't think it goes.
This is interesting. So I'm trying the barley wine first, because that taste was already quite bold and in my mouth. And I actually feel like this panettone, despite me saying it had no dried fruit in it, I feel like the way the bread tastes in general is bringing out a sweetness in the barley wine that wasn't there in the first few sips that I had on its own.
So I think this is bringing out a sweetness in the stout, but it then doesn't pair very well with the cheese. Right, I'm going to try it with the dark lager.
I'm going to do a swap over. I think like the bread impacted the barley wine more so than the barley wine impacted anything about the bread. And I don't know if it wasn't awful, but I think it almost made it too sweet, and there was almost like a bitterness that came out of it that I was like, not sure.
So the dark lager crispness kind of cuts through the creamy cheese quite well, but it's quite smoky, so.
This double is really great. Just in general, like I love a double anyways.
Both of these beers aren't pairing well with a cracker, is the problem.
You got the wrong cracker, mate.
I've got the wrong
other cracker.
Right, I'm going to try it with the Creek, because I think the Creek will go with the rosemary. So I've got a Boone Creek.
I feel like that's standard. If you didn't, I'd be like, what'd you get?
Right, classic.
I feel like such a messy eater right now because my nails have grown aggressively long as well.
Yeah.
So trying to do anything with these nails is already a pain, and I'm like, ugh. Yeah, this double is perfection with this. I'm going to pick out a bicky, as Rick would say. Trying to see what's the best one for me to have. Yeah, I'm picking out what is called the Artisan Crisp, which is a crispy pastry enrobed in a semi-sweet Belgian chocolate with Belgian and white chocolate accents, because that feels like that'll be the best way to sort of pair them.
I'm going back round without the cracker, because it's the cracker that's upsetting everything. I picked the wrong cracker, people. Rosemary and sea salt sourdough crackers do not go with any of these beers. For science, I've done this for you, listeners.
Weirdly, so this chocolate biscuit that I just had, with the double, it almost brings out cherry notes. Like fruity cherry notes in it. Interesting. Right.
I quite like the creamy blue cheese with the stout on its own, without the cracker.
Be interesting to see like what you could put it on that would make that work. Like that could be fun. Just be like, clear out your pantry, pick one beer style. What can you make work with that?
Probably just a regular, like, plain cracker. I think the sourdough and the rosemary is just making it a bit too much.
I find that interesting though, because I don't think I would have said like, oh, a stout with that in general. Like, so that's just, I would have never put those two together.
A stout and blue cheese is supposed to be a thing. I have yet to find.
I'm not a blue cheese person, so
yeah, I've yet to find a stout that I like with blue cheese. So that's why I wanted to try this and see if it made a difference. It does not. I did not have a successful pairing here, people, but that is the fun of trying these things.
Ooh, this chocolate brings out like some roastiness in the barley wine that wasn't there. It was like the barley wine was definitely sweeter, more dried fruits.
Yeah.
And then this chocolate has come in and made it a little bit more, there's like a bitterness, but like a coffee roasty bitterness that's coming out.
Okay.
I would say the panettone 100% paired with the double. Didn't love it with the barley wine. But again, I've also had a barley wine that's about a year out of date. So maybe it would have been different if I had this in January 2023. I don't know. But I think the chocolate could go either way.
Yeah.
Because I think it brought out interesting notes in both that I didn't necessarily taste on their own without the chocolate.
Yeah.
Right. Should we, how do we want to do this? Do we want to do our final course and then we can just pick and talk about goals, or like...
Yeah, let's do that.
Should we do that?
We'll have beers.
Then we can just sip around.
Right? Yeah.
So what have you, while I pour mine, what have you got for yours?
So I have already poured my Creek. is 2020 Creek Boon. And I've got some double chocolate lint ball things. They're little one. One of the brownies bought these for me for Christmas, so I've got some of those. I thought they would go really well with a Creek. I've then got some little Milky Bar Father Christmas shapes.
Nice.
So that's white chocolate. I thought that might go quite nicely with a smoked vanilla stout.
Ooh.
So I've got that one. And then what is always left at the bottom that nobody wants to eat? The Bounties.
Oh, I like Bounty.
You're the only person.
I mean,
No one in my house likes the Bounties.
They actually did a study. They actually did a study to find out how many people actually really hated Bounties and if it was really unfair how many they gave you. And know that actually Bounties aren't giving you more Bounties and less of everything else. And actually a higher percentage like the Bounties more than are admitting out on social media. Just putting that there.
Not in my house. Nobody likes Bounties. So I don't really like Bounties, but for science, I thought because it's coconut, I thought that might pair quite well with a bottle of 2021 Bourbon County that I've got in my fridge. I thought like a barrel-aged stout with the coconut, I thought would go really well.
I have 2 different years of Bourbon County. I think I've got 2023.
Ooh.
And I might have 2021, I'm not sure. But I'm like, I don't want to open them on my own because I'm like, then who will I share that experience? Like, yeah, and I can share it with Rick, but he won't
appreciate it.
Not that he won't appreciate it, he'll be like, oh, it's good. And I'll be like, yeah.
Well, you save those. You save those. I've saved my blind pig and we'll just drink this together.
Do you still have your Pliny?
No, I drank it.
Oh, yeah, I drank
mine. We had that ages ago.
Yeah, I know, I drank mine as well. And I'm like, I needed it for something. And I was like, well, maybe Joe still has hers.
No. I've got a blind pig though, so we can drink that together.
That's definitely because
you told me I wasn't allowed to drink that. We have to drink it.
Oh,
together.
I mean, you can do, but I guess I might just withhold some of the stuff that I've got. It's fine.
Well, that's why I'm saving.
Yeah,
it.
Exactly, exactly.
I also have a big bag of beers
I can't tell you to do anything. You know I can't tell you to do anything. Right, so I'm going to go on to my buffalo chicken dip and my cheeses. So I've got a smoky cheddar and I've got a cheddar that's more of like a creamy cheddar made with Victorian apple chutney in it, which I thought was, when I bought it, I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I've got that. And my rosemary crackers, biscuits, whatever you want to call them, and I've got some just like normal ass like stuff for the that's for the buffalo chicken dip. Yeah, we can't have anything too fancy for that. My beers, I've got the Amity and Good Chemistry collab of the plum porter because that one. So it's called Autumn, and I was meant to drink it in autumn, but delish. I didn't. And I thought, you know what, it should still be it should still be fine, but I thought let's not let it get too much past the best before date. Again, this is all about resetting for the new year, so I thought that would be nice. But also I have got the Colonel's Dunkel.
Oh, so nice.
Yeah. I thought that might go well with some of this because
I think it will.
To be fair, I did actually have logic behind it. The Dunkel is because the Brewers Association recommended that Dunkels go well with the hearty, spicy food and barbecue food. And I actually, to make the buffalo chicken dip, smoked the chicken in applewood chips.
Yeah. So I like to use a Dunkel like where you would want like some crusty bread or something, like a bready flavour with it.
Yeah.
You know, that's where I usually pair a Dunkel in there. Or if you want something that's because it's gonna be clean because it's a lager, it's going to cut through any creaminess.
I think they mentioned the doubles as well might go with some of this as well. So I was like, well, I'll have that first and then I'll move on and see how it goes the rest of it. The plum porter was just a bit of a wild card because like anytime I was trying to Google what goes well with the plum porter, it was like for porters, and I was like, no, but I want a plum porter particularly, and I just couldn't find anything. So like I kind of went based on the Brewers Association guide because like normally I'd have some I didn't take out all the charcuterie stuff I have. I've got like mulled wine, we had some mulled wine salami and stuff like that we had. It's in the fridge. I was like, I don't need that much, but like that kind of stuff I thought would go well. I thought that would go decently with the plum porter. So I tried to pick things that realistically I would have at this time of year. But yeah, I guess we'll see. Some of the runners up was like, obviously everything was like American IPAs in pails for the buffalo chicken dip, and I was like, but I wanted something interesting and different.
Yeah.
The closest I got was like Marzen and Oktoberfest beers. I did see fruited beers or funky fruited beers be suggested. My problem was it said low acidity, and I was like, a lot of the funky fruity stuff I can't guarantee it's low acidity. I don't know for sure it's low acidity, therefore I don't really want to risk like opening something that's maybe only one of that I can't get another one and then be like, oh balls, it's too acidic, it doesn't work. So I am mildly concerned because there's lots of glasses now at this point.
I've got so many glasses, but I have got my fancy pants Bourbon County Stout glass for my Bourbon Stout. So,
well, I've got my lovely Good Chem one for my Good Chem, and it's the one with the duck on it again. Yes. It's like the duck's part of it. He's doing a microphone interview. So there we go. So yeah, I too have branded glassware. Thank you very much.
It's not a competition.
Yeah, I know. But it made me feel like I was missing out. I got FOMO.
Right, I'm opening these chocolates. I'm going to start with the double chocolate lint truffle thing.
I'm going to try my beers first for a sec, and then I'm going to dive into the cheese. Ooh.
Oh. This with the creek? Yes, please. Like chocolate covered cherries.
Right, I'm going in cheese. Cheese first. I'm going with the weird Victorian apple because why not? I know what you mean by these crackers kind of altering the taste.
Yeah.
I think it's because it's giving a malty taste to it.
Yes.
It's counterbalancing.
And it counteracts whatever maltiness you've got in the beer, and it wasn't working with the ones that I had.
No, I picked up the smoky one, not the apple one.
Oh.
And it is.
I thought my little Milky Way thing was going to be a Father Christmas, and it's not. It's a little house. With a Christmas tree in front of it. So that
got a surprise. You get surprised.
I got a surprise.
Oh, I also had the leftover of my advent calendar because I thought, I can use my advent calendar, but it was just it was M&S chocolates where I got dinosaur facts. So
that's cool.
I know that is cool, isn't it? people say you should get boring advent calendars. I was like, I want one for children that's going to teach me about the Cretaceous era.
The smoked vanilla porter with the Milky Bar is quite nice. Like the Milky Bar and the vanilla kind of go together, and then you get this smoky kind of light smoky stout with it that clears the creaminess of the chocolate away from the palate. It's quite nice.
I'm not going to lie, I just think all these beers just pair with cheese. Mm. The Dunkel, I think it's both the cheeses, the smoky and the apple one, were better without any cracker. So I think I'm going to try the plum porter with nothing on it, because I think the cracker, the maltiness from the cracker, they're really good crackers, but they bring too much maltiness so that the beer pairing's just completely off.
Yeah.
But like the apple, for example, in the Dunkel sort of brought the, like exactly as you said, sort of like that maltiness to it to act as that like sort of the breadiness to that element, and it like acted like I didn't need the biscuit.
You didn't need the cracker because the Dunkel is the cracker.
Yeah, and like the apple element had that like sweetness to it, which was really nice. And I bet if I had put in some like balsamic or even just like a bit of chutney as well, that might have even amplified it. I'm trying my plum porter now with it, which I feel like this was a bold move on my part, because I was like, I don't know how this is going to work. I'm going to give it a go. Let's see. How are you coming along on your side?
The Milky Bar with the Creek is obviously delicious. It's like a cheesecake, like a vanilla cheesecake with a sharp, acidic cherry compote on it. Always recommend white chocolate and fruited lambics.
Hmm.
Okay, I've got my Bourbon County, and I'm going to go in with the Bounty. Here I go with the Bounty.
Ooh.
I think it works quite well. The coconut kind of brings in that you can get those coconut flavors from barrel aging, so it kind of adds another layer to it.
Does it make you enjoy the Bounty when you don't like the Bounty?
No.
Fair.
Only because I don't really like the texture of the coconut in Bounty.
Okay, fine. Is it just because it's like the graininess more than the taste
graininess.
of coconut?
I don't like it.
Okay.
Because I like I've come to enjoy coconut flavors in beer, or like coconut cream in things, right? But the actual like desiccated coconut or the texture of coconut is not for me.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like it. Like, it's now stuck in my teeth. This is like, you know how you don't like chewing chewy sweets?
Mm-hmm.
I don't like Bounty in my mouth. I don't like coconut.
I feel like there's a wildly different though. Like, you don't like chewy sweets. I don't like coconut in my mouth whatsoever.
I don't like the texture of it.
I like chewy sweets up until a point, and then I'm like, I don't like it anymore. This is taking too long. I have an impatience problem, and I'm like, oh, this is taking so long to eat. I don't enjoy this.
I'm going to try the Bourbon County with the double chocolate lints.
I mean, I've not really been saying anything because I haven't tried the buffalo chicken dip with anything yet. Just the two cheeses.
Yeah. You're just nibbling
and
away.
I've done with the dunkel, the double, and the plum porter. It's all phenomenal with all of them. I would say the cracker works better when you have it with the cheese, with the double and with the plum porter, but I don't find that it adds any. I think it actually takes away when you're having the dunkel. It adds, I think it worked best, the cracker piece of it worked best with the plum porter. And the double, it was just a bit like it's neutral. I'm like, could have it, couldn't. Could go without. But oh my god, I'm about to try the big oofa doofa now, which is the buffalo chicken dip, which is now cold, so it'll be a bit sad. But
the double chocolate lint takes away from the complex flavors in the Bourbon County, unfortunately. I think maybe
that's
you just
sad.
need to drink.
Is it because like lint is too, like you have two really high end things, and maybe like never the two shall meet?
Yeah, I think it's like
you can't enjoy the master craftsmanship on both sides.
Like the colours, the flavours, just
the colours of the flavours.
The flavours just cancelled each other out. Like, and so then it just wasn't as good. Yeah, I think Bourbon County is just meant for drinking on its own.
That's fair. I can see that. Right.
Or you need like a really dark chocolate that's got like really lovely berry flavors in it or something. Like, there's just like that. Just the chocolate brings those flavors itself to add to the layers of that, I think.
All right, first up with the buffalo chicken dip is the dunkel. Oh, I mean, I did make some amazing dip. I'm not going to pretend I didn't.
Pat yourself on the back.
I don't want to toot my own horn, but beep, effing beep. I made some great stuff there. Because that smoke in the chicken to put in it, in the apple, you really get like that. It's not a massive amount of smokiness. It's just like a little hint of smokiness above and beyond what you normally get from buffalo chicken dip. It could have been a tad bit thicker, in my opinion, because I think the cream cheese, I went cheap on the cream cheese because I panicked last minute. and I didn't have Philadelphia. I had to use like Little Zone, so it was like a little bit runnier. So that meant that everything was a little bit more liquidy.
Yeah.
Because I was sort of like doing it off. I was trying to make a smaller amount of something and doing it off of a recipe. So I couldn't really like eyeball, and it was a bit tricky. But that's a good dip. Works with a dunkel. I feel like I still get the flavour. It's not lost. It's not all spicy, which I think that's the fear sometimes is like how much flavour is in a buffalo chicken dip. That's why they're like, American pale ales, because the fruitiness, you know, New England IPAs and the pale ales, they cut through with that fruitiness, and it's the specific type of fruitiness and the hoppiness, and like I get it.
The bitterness cuts through it.
But a lot of them were saying that actually the fruity notes are what is balancing out some of the spicy buffalo chicken notes. And that's what they were saying. Actually, you should pair it. I've got an article actually that was from some brewers that were talking about what to pair. It's American brewers, obviously.
Yeah.
We're going what to pair on game day, which is like Super Bowl day.
Yeah.
And people saying like buffalo chicken dip, and like one person, everyone was like American pale ales, you know, IPAs, that fruity element sort of like helps take the edge off of some of like the spice and everything. And one person was like, yeah, a funky, fruity, low acidity beer. And I was like, that sounds like a really interesting thing. If only I could guarantee that the acidity level wouldn't be too high, because I would be dying to try that.
And you sometimes got to be careful with the bitterness in American IPAs as well, because that can sometimes accentuate the heat.
So they were talking specifically about New England IPAs and like the fruitier, like the juicier ones, like the hazy,
definitely,
the hazier
because
ones.
if you go for something bitter,
not
that
like a
bitterness
West Coast
is going to accentuate the spicy.
Well, what's really challenging though is if you are not from the US and maybe you don't know as much about beer, and you just kind of know the basics of this is what New England IPA is, and this is what this is, and this is what that is, you might not realize when you see New England IPA on something like an Alchemist beer, that it's not going to taste like what you think it's going to taste like when somebody says a New England. It's not going to be a big, like, it's going to be hazy. It's not going to be a big juicy boy. Like, that is not what is going to, it's like one of those old traditional Vermont IPAs, which is kind of a little bit like, there is some fruitiness to it, but there's a lot of like dankness in there as well. Like, there's a lot of like West Coast elements in it, even though it is like the Vermont IPA, the New England, it is like the original New England IPA, but there is still a lot of like Westy type flavors associated to it. And if you just kind of went over to the US going, everyone talks about this amazing beer that's like, you know, the Alchemist makes amazing New Englands, and you're used to the New Englands that we get here in the UK, for example, or what is widely known as like the New England, you go over there and you try that. Like when we went to the Alchemist, Rick tried it and he was like, I can appreciate these are all really well made beers. I don't like this style of IPA. I had to drink most of them. He was like, not a fan, don't like it. And he was like, love what they do, love what they stand for. I can tell it's a high quality product. I don't like it. Because he was under there thinking, I'm going to get this particular type of beer.
Yeah. Interesting.
I'm about to try the, let's see how
it goes.
Oh, I'm scared. Because I think I feel like I'm going to make a mess out of myself, but double.
We've become that one of those podcasts where we're just eating stuff again.
We're mukbanging. I watched a TV show.
I can't remember.
And they get a bunch of mukbangers in. And they were like, oh, we're just going to keep ordering all this food.
Oh my God.
Wild how much they can eat. Again, I feel like it brings out like a really, almost like a cherry flavour. And I wonder if I had smoked this in cherry wood, would that have changed? So I smoked it in applewood specifically because chicken does really well in applewood. And I wanted it to be like less offensive because the buffalo sauce is really, really aggressive. That's why I chose that wood. But I wonder if I chose a cherry wood, I think that would even improve some of these darker beers. Right. Okay, hold on. Let me water palate cleanse. And then I can do the last one, which is my plum porter, which was like, that's why I picked the plum porter in general, was for this in particular. And I thought, let's see how we can go with this.
Yeah.
Really nice plum porter, by the way.
Yeah,
Despite the
really
fact that
beer.
It's out of date by a few months.
Yeah, you can't get it anymore, but it was really good.
I'm so
Someone's
sorry,
going to come
Kelly.
up to me. Someone's going to come
So
up to me.
sorry, Kelly.
Someone's going to come up to me at a festival and be like, that beer you were saying was really good. I couldn't get it. And I'm like, I know. I'm sorry.
Like Queen Julius.
It's not the first time that someone has done that to me.
I'm so sorry to everyone that I got really amped on Queen Julius. You can't have it. I'm really sorry. I drank the last one over Christmas. It doesn't not go, but it gets overpowered by the buffalo. Yeah. But I also don't know if it's because it's the last one I've had and the heat is just in my mouth.
Oh, yeah, possibly.
So,
but as well, like sometimes they're good pairings. They're not great pairings.
I could have it. I could have it and not dislike it.
Yeah.
I think that's probably, I could have it, not dislike it. Perfectly
like fine. Some of these that I've just tried here were good pairings. Like, you know, I think, you know, you could probably eat the chocolate with the Bourbon County. It was okay. It wasn't great. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, this totally accentuates both of the items. That's, you know, when you're going for a really great food and beer pairing, you want them to accentuate each other, like the good characteristics of each other.
The blonde is decent with it as well, I'll say.
Yeah.
There you go. That's all of our pairings. Right. You're going to have so much editing to do because you're going to have to edit us eating and edit out the part that we're eating and thinking, that's nice.
Yeah.
So good luck on that.
It's all right on YouTube because people can see what we're doing. It's when it's to our lovely
Someone's listening and they just hear crunch, crunch, crunch,
I
crunch.
And they're like, all of that out because they're like, what is going on here?
Our run times are going to vary so drastically between YouTube and not YouTube. Anyways, moving on to our goals. Did you set any personal goals? Because we talked about this earlier.
Yeah, we did talk about this earlier. So I thought about it this year and I've decided I'm not going to set goals per se. I'm sure we'll get into this in a moment, but Tori has developed the ultimate beer spreadsheet. TM.
TM. That is what I called it. Yeah. No, actually, I think I called it Big Fat Spreadsheet of the Year.
You did call it Big Fat Spreadsheet of the Year. TM.
TM. If anyone ends up with it, I know where you got it. Yeah. I'm happy to share, but ask me for it.
Yeah, ask for it. So I think I'm going to track all my things on there. I might see if there's anything else I want to add in. But so what I do with my reading is that each month I do like I track like what genres I've read, where they came from, what, you know, was it an audiobook or an ebook or whatever. So I have all these different stats and then I do like a roundup at the end of the month. And then this year I'm also going to do like quarterly stats. So I think I'm going to do that with my beer drinking as well. Like I'm going to see, you know, I'm just going to let it happen. And then I'm going to do stats at the end of each month and see what styles I've drunk, see what new breweries I've gone to, see what new to me breweries, what new to me beers there are, and just kind of see what happens. And then I'll do like a little roundup at the end of each month. And then when we do our quarterly ones, I'll do a quarter roundup of what we've got. I'm going to do that instead. So I've not really got anything that I'm working towards. I'm just seeing what happens. Like doing like a record of the year of what I just naturally drink as part of what I want to drink, what I end up drinking when I'm working, like things like that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I guess it makes sense for me to kind of run through my big fat spreadsheet of the year.
Yeah.
So basically, I effectively made an improvement. I mean, some people might say it's an improvement. Some people might say it's just gotten chonkier. But I guess it depends on what you want. Because my thing is like, it looks really big. There's several tabs, but it's very... The more data, but what I know from tech is the more data points you have to work with, the better visuals and the better everything else you can get. And I've already messaged someone at work to say, can you help me create a visual in Power BI? Because I want to do some personal development, learning how to do a thing. But to do that, I needed lots of data points, but it couldn't all go on the same page. And then I've tried to break it down in ways that made sense. So, and I've tried to like reduce the amount of pages. What had happened last year is like, I would start tracking something. I'd be like, oh, it'd be really cool to actually find out about that as well. And then I'd like add it on piecemeal. And then by the end of it, things were just so disorganized. So what I did was basically kind of like cleaned up the noise, removed things that I was like, actually, I didn't really care about that much. It didn't really help me. The end of the year stats didn't make a difference whether I knew X, Y, or Z. But I was trying to combine having separate spreadsheets, having a spreadsheet and then a goals tracking and then a this and then a that. So I thought a lot of my goals for this year, personal goals, are like tracking personal bests, which are like matching or surpassing my personal bests. So I thought to do that, this spreadsheet would be really, really helpful. So like I have put the first page of it is a brewery's log, so it's just kind of like every different brewery that I've had a beer from. The goal is to try and log it. I'm trying to import stuff from the old spreadsheet across to be like, yes, I've already had this, and I've got a column at the end which is like, you know, have I heard of it before, have I tried it before? Some of them I've heard of and not tried, some of them I haven't heard of, I haven't tried, and some of them are both. And that's basically for me to measure, okay, well, how many brand new breweries have I tried, how many have I finally getting to try for the first time knowing about, and I've got their locations roughly because I want to put them on the map, because I think that would be really fun. What I really liked about the end of year Untapped was like there was a map and you could kind of see here's all the places really you went. So that was really cool, and I know I can do that if I put in the locations. And then, as we talked about in our end of year, I really wanted to move away from Untapped. So what I think I'm going to do this year is I'm going to check beers in on Untapped, but unless they do unless I'm really paying attention and I'm going in with a specific point of wanting to analyze it on Untapped, I'm just going to check it. Like I might not even, I'm just going to check it in on Untapped and not even bother rating it, or I might not check it in at all. But everything I drink, I will put on this spreadsheet. And it also is like, 'cause there's certain things that I'm like, well, I don't know what I want to rate this. And then I'm like, I'll check it in later. And then that leads to late check-ins, or it's something that I've just had like a small sample size of, but I want to be like, that was actually really nice in the sample size I had. I would try that again. So what I've done is I've kind of done everything. Like it's kind of taking the stuff that I would put in on Untapped mixed with some of the other stuff that I put in. So stuff like what was the serving method of it, and what was the best before date, and you know, if it was aged for a set amount of time, like how long was it aged for? Were there any specialty brewing techniques? What was the style on the label versus what was the style on Untapped? Because obviously we talked about the different styles that you could check in. So it was all those kind of, I put like a style rating and then a personal rating, which is obviously not something you can do on Untapped. So I kind of wanted to be able to say, this is who I had it with. This is, you know, what the personal ratings were. This is what, you know, the style rating I would give it. And like you can make notes in the end. And so I've put that there. I've combined your Untapped checklist. So it's basically the exact same checklist we used last year, but I put it in as another tab, and I've cleaned it up and I separated it out so that you've got your style and then your sub style. So that way we could easily filter and go like, oh, how many of the brown ales did I have? And then I could like easily be like, brown ales, yep, all of them. Or yeah, no, I didn't. Instead of kind of like going through and going, which line was that? Okay, yes, no. So I've cleaned it up a little bit and made sure it was updated with the latest on Untapped, because obviously we talked about some things had changed. So that's there. Pretty much everything else on that's the same. And then I put venue locations, and I tried to put like a reason for going. And it was like, was I there for an event versus was I there just to drink versus whatever, and all those details, because that will then help me track like how many events did I go to, and did I go here for a beer festival, and like I can then separate out how many visits to a tap room versus like this place just had a lot of events and that's why I had so many beers there. I've got an ingredients checklist. So I've combined, last year I half-assed yeast. I didn't really do malts or anything like that. So I've kind of made a section for all ingredients, which covers the hop, malt, yeast. And then I just put other. And I think this year what I'll do is I'll separate out like what was a normal hop versus like what was a cryo hop. And you know, was this hop a New Zealand hop of this variety or an English hop of this variety or a, you know, US version of this? So I've kind of broken it down as much as I can, but they each have like an unspecified. So that way, if like I don't know, I can just go unspecified and I don't have to think too hard on any of it. I've done an adjuncts of note, but I've done it a bit better now where I've kind of broken it down into categories as well. So I can kind of like make a pie chart and go, this is how many of all the different types of stuff before I even break it down. And I've also like, again, cleaned it up where I've put like different types of fruit or unspecified, and then saying like, there's the peel that was used of this fruit versus something else. This is all like nerdy stuff that no one's going to care about but me. But I will find it really
great.
interesting at the end of the year to be like, oh, this was clearly a trend. And I think in one year you won't really notice it. But over the course of multiple years, you'll go, oh, wow, that's really interesting because we've seen a rise in this thing versus this other thing's dropped off. Like this hop has dropped off. This hop has grown. And I think that would just be really cool to look at. I've got a barrel age breakdown just to kind of say what it was barrel aged in. And then I've got a macro log just like every time I wouldn't have owned up to this, but I will because I'm honest. I've put something that's like a macro log just because I wanted to know how many times I drank a macro bit.
Brilliant.
Because the amount of times that when I go to play Top Golf, it's something that we do at work, like that tends being like where we do group socials. I always go for the London Pride. Just because like out of all the beer offerings they have, I'm like, I'll just have a London Pride. So every photo I have of London Pride is me at Top Golf, of like the golf range in the background and a bottle of London Pride. So that's kind of that massive spreadsheet that I did. And for me, the personal goals were I wanted to set new personal bests. So I wanted to track like what we did last year of tracking the different fruits, where you can only use one fruit per beer. Last year I got 46 and I kind of hit a goal for next year. I want to hit a new personal best, but I've set a target of 50. Whether I hit that or not, I don't know. But that's kind of like what I'm aiming for.
Yeah.
I wanted to drink at more different breweries than I did this past year. So last year I did 35 different breweries, and this year I want to hit 40 new breweries. So ones I've never been to before, which I think that could be a challenge because that 35 was
like
just
actually go to the brewery.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I want to go to 40 different breweries that I've never been to before.
Wow.
Which, I mean, that could count as like I've gone to Cloudwater in London, but I haven't gone to Cloudwater in Manchester. So I'll count that. Yeah. But I think, and what I will do is I'll say like, they might not brew at this place. It might just be a tap room, but as long as it's a tap room owned by the brewery as opposed to like a pub or a bar or something, like probably will count that because I think this is a particularly difficult one.
Yeah, that's really hard.
Yeah, I want to try as many different colour beers as possible. So it needs to be like noticeably different colours.
Yeah.
As in like I can take a photo, don't change the lighting, don't put a flash on. And when I compare the two photos together, it will be different. It won't be like, oh, same. I can't tell the difference between them. I want to try breaking a new personal best for new breweries that were like new to me that I hadn't ever heard of. So I had done last year 76 that I'd never heard of before. This year, I want to try to at least hit 25 that I've never heard of before, and then get to, another 50 that I've heard of, but I haven't. So I've got 75 total, but 25 of that split is never heard of them before. 50 of it is, I've heard of them, but I've never tried them because I think that's going to be really hard this year. And I do want to finish trying the ones that I didn't try last year after the new beer to buy and try. So the All Day Brewing, Cromarty, Indian Brewing, and Bayonet. The different countries, so I did 14 different countries of beer last year. This year I want to kind of do 10 because I think it might be slightly more challenging this year, with a stretch goal of 15, because it's going to be more challenging because I'm not going to count the US, Scotland, England, Wales or Northern Ireland as part of that because those are like just too easy. It feels not fair. And then like you said in the other episode with the untapped styles, I want to get closer to that 200, so I want to hit at least 175 different styles. I've got stash management stuff there, like I want to get my best before dates down so that I don't have, once I remove the aged beers, I don't have more than 10 max in my best before stash by the end of the year. I want to like eliminate that because I've bought way too much. My habits have changed, but my buying hadn't.
Yeah.
So I want to get that under control so I can curb that. This is the hardest one though, is I don't want to buy more than 72 new beers for home consumption across the whole year. Ooh. And that's because I factored in as like a 6-pack per month.
Yeah.
So what's not counted is like if we're doing a podcast order for podcast beers, I won't count that. And anything that has to go to make up that order won't count. Yeah. But if we've done what we've done with Thought City, which is like, I just want this one beer.
Yeah.
Let's make a podcast out of it. Then that doesn't count. Yeah. Like the podcast beer doesn't count, but the rest of it does. Yeah. So that I think is going to be the hardest one, because that's
Yeah.
not just online purchases, that's takeaway as well. I feel like I could easily do that with local brewery tap rooms. Travel. Just want to travel more, be better at sharing photos because I'm really bad at that, and I want to drink more traditional and cask because I think I naturally gravitate towards non-trad cask stuff.
Yeah.
I have cask beers, but it tends to be more when there's keg versus cask together.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the main offering. If it's keg on tap, I normally go keg.
Stay down my way. Actually, you get a better cask up north. We need to go up north and get some good cask.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I think we talked about it before. I want to fall back in love with social media, so I kind of want to make a post a month, even if it's just here's a really cool photo.
Instagram fun again.
Make Instagram fun again in 2025. I already said we don't want to co-opt that, but we are. So I kind of want to make sure I'm posting, even though if it's like it's not really hashtagged. It's just like here's a photo I took that I really like. I want to experiment with beer and food, as you can see from all the books that I got.
Yeah.
And I want to refresh my blog and actually start updating it, and I've got lots of really good ideas. So it's stuff like beer and hobby pairing, which I did 2 years ago and then I just stopped last year, and top beers. So we talked about top beers, but I've started last year. I wanted to do it. You actually stuck with it. I did not stick with it, but I've kind of set myself up for success this year, and I've also started this thing where I wanted to ask people what their favorite beers were and like their top beers were and their most memorable. Like it didn't have to actually be the best one, but like if I went to you, like what beer brings a sparkle to your eye, makes you happy, and why? And I kind of want to try other people's beer through the lens of like this person really likes it, and if you've got a personal story to share about it, that's even better, because then I can kind of go, if I was in that mindset, how would I feel about this beer? And you can stipulate. So like Greg, who works at Disruption, he was like, you have to have a super bock in Portugal on the beach in the sun. And I went, I can do it in the UK. He's like, nah, it's different.
You've got to have super bock in Portugal.
He was like, he went, has to be Portuguese air, salt air. I'm afraid I'm really sorry.
Like there are certain beers that like it's acceptable, like a mythos. Like it's acceptable to drink a mythos when you're in Greece.
He was like, in Portugal they only really had this and super bock, and like, you know, so I'm afraid it has to be the Portuguese air. And I said, how funny would it be? It's just me on Brighton Beach, sat on stones with a hoodie on in June, like just like with a super bock, and it's just a photo of me looking grumpy going, nope. And he goes, that would be quite comical. So I think there's stuff like that. So, you know, that's something that I want to do, is like go through the lens of somebody else and be like, okay, let me give something that I've tried before another shot. Yeah. Let me look about it in a different way, you know, through the drinking glass. I started, never continued that. I would love to tell stories through the actual drinking glass, the pairing side of things. And then like, you know, books like A Year in Beer. Can I follow a year in beer? What does that mean? So yeah, I think that's kind of, I have a lot of personal things, but they're things that I'm like, I actually want to work this year on pushing myself more than I have previously, because I think previous years I've not really set myself up for success, and I think this year I have. So I think there'll also be a bingo card. I'm going to make a bingo card for us. Yes, I'm not going to say what's on the bingo card, because it's not going to be fun if I tell you all of the things now, but it'll be really good for when people see it. And then what you can do is you can pick the bingo card you want, screenshot that, and then you have to fill out the whole card, get bingo. Yeah. I don't know what happens if you win. I haven't thought that far.
They get a sticker.
Yeah.
We'll send them a sticker.
You can have a sticker. If you're the first person to do it, you can have a shiny. I'll even print you out a shiny.
Whoa, there you go.
You got to be the first person to do
it. One.
And it's going to be really hard, because nothing we've said in this episode can count, because I think we've ticked off like 50% of it at least in this episode. Doesn't count. And also the one that's going to be the hardest is definitely the mention of coffee. Yeah. So let's get our plug out for that now. If you want to, everything we do is free. If you want to support us, buy us a drink on coffee.
Yeah.
Oh, so
we never plug that.
We never plug it, and I think that's going to be one that goes across every bingo card, because you cannot win unless we do that, and it's never going to happen. And that's the troll that I think is going to be the funniest. But I guess before we end, we came up with some ideas that we thought would be fun to talk.
We did. So we were looking for the Drink Harder challenge for this year, and it hasn't been released yet, so we couldn't talk about that. But I took the previous 2 years of Drink Harder, and I stuck them into old ChatGPT and went.
That was on the bingo card.
To our AI overlords, we put it into ChatGPT, and I went, "These are previous ones. We want to create our own. What craft beer challenges can you suggest us in this kind of format?" So it gave us like.
I do want a caveat as well, by the way.
Ones.
I don't want anyone to think that we're taking away the work that Katie's beer blog is doing.
No,
she's doing
not
awesome
at all.
work.
Yeah.
It's just we were impatient.
If
We were like,
there,
if it comes out,
if
it comes out by the end of the quarter,
yeah,
we will go and add that onto our list.
Yeah.
We were just trying to think of things that we could do.
But yeah, I mean, we said last year that we'd come up with our own kind of drinking challenge prompts, and we never did. So we've actually done some this year. So it gave us, what did it give us? 20 to start with, and then you did some more. Then
I doubled down. And I put everything that you came up with into ChatGPT and went, elaborate on this. Make it fun. Make it make it creative. I
thought the ones that
yours were fun.
Were pretty fun.
Yours were way more fun than mine. But basically, my prompt was use these and come up with additional creative and challenging goals. And then it gave me a bunch. I edited those. I tried Copilot, and as I've said before, Copilot is. I tripled down, put everything into Copilot. Copilot just repeated back to me what I put in there, and I was like, Copilot, you are not the AI overlord that I worship.
No. Copilot was being lazy today.
So I deleted all of it, and then I did come up with my own as well, so I added those on at the end. But I've got some notes, so I thought we could go through. We've got, at the moment, we've got 44 in total, but we can veto some. I don't know what the ideal number is. I just thought it would be fun to have things to work towards.
I mean, I feel like 30 might be a good number, right?
Let's see what we can narrow down by the end of this.
Yeah, let's see what we get.
Okay. I'll let you do the first ones, because the first ones were yours.
Number 1, travel the world with beer. Drink a beer inspired by a region or country you dream of visiting. I thought that was pretty cool.
I like that one, because I also like that some of these can be used as prompts, so it can also help me with my goal of blog stuff, because it could be like, drink a beer inspired by a region you dream of visiting, Germany, and why. And then I could write how I'd never get to go anywhere, and it's so sad.
You never get to go anywhere.
Ever.
Number 2, mystery beer swap. And this is something we've talked about anyway. Swap a beer with a friend without revealing what it is until tasted. We've talked about doing this.
We did. I put a comment on it where I said potentially maybe we could add a caveat as well, that instead of doing like a swap with a friend, you could just do like, maybe we change it to just a blind beer challenge, so it's a little bit more open. So if you want to swap with a friend, cool. If you want to ask a bottle shop to just do you a bunch of blind beers, fine. If you have a partner that will, sort that out for you, that's great. But I thought maybe, because not everybody, I wanted to make sure that our list was accessible to everybody globally, not even just within the UK. And I thought maybe switching it up so that the mystery beer swap was just mystery beer tasting, and just do a blind beer tasting, so it's a little bit more accessible for people that don't have friends into beer. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think you could reword that. I think definitely.
Right, I'm going to put a tick next to it that says that is resolved. Hide the discussion.
Yes. The next one: food pairing adventure. Pair a sour beer with a savoury dish and a stout with dessert. I mean, I feel like we could potentially cross that one off, because we've kind of done that. I
actually said, what if we swapped that as well? Keep the name, the food pairing adventure, food pairing adventure, but instead, could we maybe shift it to like do one themed food and beer pairing? So like you could do a chocolate or a cheese or whatever you want, because I kind of didn't like the pair of sour with a savoury or a stout with a dessert, because I feel like stouts we've covered so many times, like stouts do go with
prescriptive
desserts.
That as well, isn't it?
Like, I didn't like it, so I thought it would be more open to go, why don't you just do a food and beer pairing of your choice, a themed night. So should we do that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. I'm going to mark that as resolved.
Then unique adjunct quest. Find and drink a beer brewed with a truly unique ingredient. I found that one exciting. I think that would be quite difficult for us to find something that's really unique that we've not drunk before.
I have one already in my fridge.
Well, I think I've got one in my fridge as well, but also...
And it was one that I think we ordered at the same time.
So I feel like I need to find another one, because I've already got it.
Well, no, so what I'm going to caveat is everything we do, so that we can make it ability to like play along with us, is you just have to tick off like one to be like, I've done it.
Yeah.
But as per usual, I'm just going to go, how many
You're
of
going to
these...
go hard mode.
How many of these things can I do? because I think for me that's fun to just set personal bests. I'm competitive against myself.
Yeah.
I really like that one as well. It made me excited.
I really like this one. Seasonal lineup. Drink a beer from each season. So, for example, a spring ale, a summer shandy, an autumn lager, and a winter warmer. I really like that one.
I like that as well. I like that it even says though, like spring ale, summer shandy, because like I probably would have been like, what? Like over here, seasonal things aren't always as clear.
Yeah.
So I think that's the fact that it's like summer shandy and, you know, winter warmer, like might help give some hints as well. So I like that one a
lot. Beer meme tribute. Drink a beer based on a meme.
I really liked this one a lot.
Like IPA day or stout season. Like I don't feel like those are memes.
I have no idea what those memes are.
No, I don't know what they are. But what I would like to do is I want to scroll through username with beer in its feed and just find something that I can drink a beer that's based on it.
Yeah, I 100%. And I think what we should do as well, like if you're gonna, I would suggest if you're gonna play along with us, I feel like we should be taking photos of each of these. Yeah. Every time we tick something off, we should take a photo of it, and then we can be like, and that was something that I've ticked off.
Yeah, definitely. You share it.
Every quarter, I could be like, here's all the things that I've ticked off in this quarter.
Yeah.
And the meme would be like, here's the meme, and here's me redoing the meme.
We'll tidy this up, and we'll make it a PDF, and we'll share it in our links.
We'll workshop some of the names.
Yeah. 7, double down. Drink 2 beers back to back from the same brewery, but completely different styles. I quite like this one.
I find it wasn't challenging enough for me.
Well, I don't feel like it needs. Like, I think it's just because some people just kind of have one beer at a time from places, right? But I feel like you could go to a brewery and drink 2 different things while you're there for this one.
See, I found that was so easy because I found like if you were buying a beer from somewhere, like it's easy to get a second one of that same one. I mean, maybe the challenge is if it's like a certain brewery finding a beer that's a different.
Yeah, they've got to be completely different styles.
That. I think I would propose making it more challenging and to be like, there's got to be a 5% ABV difference.
That's huge, though. Some breweries don't do beers that are that different.
That's why it's a challenge. I think I'm going to do that one because that one is more interesting to me. But we can keep it as it is. I'm happy to keep it as it is, but I'm going to do it where it's an actual 5% difference.
You go on hard mode.
Because, but that can easily be like, oh, this brewery's done a 0% ABV. And then outside of that, they do 6 and 7%. And those are two.
Could be.
And that, to me, that inspires the challenge of pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone to try something that's very different, as opposed to just like, I tried a lager and then I tried a stout. And it's like, okay, that's cool. But like, is that really challenging you and pushing you outside your comfort zone?
I mean, I would assume that as you're doing this, like you're challenging yourself a little bit. You know, we've got to let people
make up their own.
Police themselves.
Yeah, I do have like a bunch of the ones that I wrote. I was like, you can decide what you want. I'm going to go on hard mode. You decide for yourself.
Number 8, craft crossover. Try a beer inspired by another craft, e.g. coffee stout or wine barrel-aged beer. So that's, so like coffee. I'd say it would have to have artisan coffee in it and like wine barrel-aged beer. Like, I feel like it would need to be like a named wine. Oh, I've still got one.
I fucking miss Whiny Beast. It's my one of my favourite beers, and when I've like explained to people, I'm like, it's just
I've
so
got Whiskey
sad.
Beast.
I think I've got a few Wild Beer Co's that I've inherited, but I don't think that's one of them. But I miss Whiny Beast so much.
Number 10.
Number 9.
Number 9, colour gradient flight. Create a flight that moves from lightest to darkest beer. Like,
I loved it. I was in.
Were you? I feel like we've done this already.
No, I was in from the word gradient.
Okay.
I was like,
you do enjoy gradient, yeah.
Well, I was like, that'll be lovely. And that also fits in. I think the reason I like it as well is it fits in with one of the things I want to challenge myself with, which is like, again, how many different things. But I do feel like, again, when you say create a flight, like it has to be something that's sold as a flight. You can't just be like, I had this colour, I got a can of this, I got a can of this. I mean, I guess if you're at home and you make it yourself, fine. But like, I feel like it has to be sold as a flight, because that's part of the challenge, right? Is like hunting out a place that's not just like IPA, 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 and they all look the same.
Yeah. Number 10, beer book club. Read a beer-related book and drink a beer from a feature brewery. This is something we've been talking about doing anyway, isn't it? So I was happy with that one.
And I think we talked about when we did the Mallory O'Meara book, that's one that there was like a specific, here's a playlist that goes with it, and like here's what you should drink with it. And like, I think if you have a book that maybe you can't get the particular beer from a particular brewery because it's too challenging, I feel like if there's something like that, like what Mallory did, you could kind of be like, oh, that's recommended, that's mentioned in that sub thing, let me do that.
Yeah. I don't necessarily like the name of the next one. Number 11, Hop Passport. Try a beer showcasing a hop you've never heard of before.
I don't feel like that really is clear of what it's trying to...
No. So I feel like the name of that one needs changing. I also think for me, this one would be incredibly hard.
I'm trying to think of the wider audience, and I find like when I tried all the hops that I tried this past year, there were definitely ones that I was like, oh, that I've never had them before. I didn't even know that was one. So I don't think you work in hops, right?
Yeah,
so
well, that's why
you have to remove your bias from it.
For me, this one would be really hard. But I think for people, it would be quite interesting.
But maybe we can kind of like reshape it so it's maybe less. We can workshop this, so it's not necessarily like showcase a hop you've never heard of before. Maybe it's like try a beer showcasing a hop you've never tried before.
Yeah.
And then that also fits in with me trying to beat my personal best. That'd be good.
Number 12, can art appreciation. Select a beer based solely on its can or bottle artwork. I mean, we do this all the time. So that's,
I know.
That's an easy win.
I really want to like create mini games every quarter where it's like we pick a mini game and the mini game is like have a beer that has like, and then just be like this animal on it, and then it's like that's it, go out and find a beer with that animal on it, and that's like find artwork that has a fox on it, and then we're like, okay, that's the mini game for the quarter, everyone goes and finds it.
I've been wanting to like get my stash down so that I could then get beers that I could pair with some of the books that I'm reading, because I feel like I've got so much beer that I don't want to buy more. But sometimes in my stash, it doesn't pair with what I want it to. So, yeah, I've been thinking about doing something like that anyway.
Maybe we can, like, let's set a mini game for it. Just every quarter, we'll just pick. Let's find as many beers as we can with your favourite animal. Let's call first quarter your favourite animal.
Okay.
What's yours? Mine, I'll say fox.
Tiger.
Okay. I've got one for you. I actually genuinely have one for you. Yeah. All right, I'm making a note here.
Okay.
Q1 beer with your favourite animal.
Okay.
I've got one for both mine. I've got one for fox and I've got one for tigers. Nice.
So, number 13, brewery bingo. Visit breweries starting with the letters BINGO. Visit breweries starting with the letters BINGO. So that's quite interesting.
I thought it was interesting, but then it felt like the title of brewery bingo feels, yes, you're spelling out bingo, but it felt misleading because I wanted to like try to tick off like...
You wanted a bingo card?
I wanted like a bingo card of breweries. Like people have done, I think it was a Hoppy Place did the bingo card of beer styles. And I really actually quite liked that, where it was like within this period of time you have to tick off bingo of all these different styles. And I thought that was cool. So that's what I thought I was going to get when I read this. Just spelling out bingo, that feels really easy. But I'm happy to leave it if you are happy to leave it.
You've got to go to the actual breweries.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be massively hard.
Depends on how many breweries you go to. I mean, you go to
the hardest,
a fair amount of bingo,
the hardest ones and
breweries, but
Indie Rabble, that's like...
Yeah. True. 14, DIY brew night. Make your own beer cocktail and share the recipe. That's just fun.
Would you consider this though? Like, could you use AI for that? Or would you just be?
I think so.
Create your own.
Either or. I think you could do it with AI as well. I
feel like beer cocktails are fun, but I don't know if that would necessarily be like a challenge.
I mean, so some people haven't got a fully stocked bar like you have.
That's true. I stocked it up for Christmas as well and never used a single thing out of it.
Right. Yeah. So And some people haven't done beer cocktails. Like, we've done quite a few now,
So
but
many.
I feel like other people haven't.
I
So
literally just did one the other day.
iconic collabs: drink a beer made in collaboration between two breweries. That I feel like that's fairly easy to do.
I feel like that's easy, and I think the only
I feel like
way
I've got
that
a few in my fridge already.
I feel like I think people could have that without trying, and I think the only reason that would be worth having it on the list would be like it has to be a collaboration with a brewery you haven't tried before.
Yeah.
So do we want to leave it on and say has to be a collaboration with a brewery you haven't tried or don't know before?
Yeah.
Because then that encourages you to seek out like, I haven't had that one before. Okay, let's go with that then. We'll leave it on. We're going to end up with 44. We need to find one more so it's at least an even 45.
Eco-friendly brew. Choose a beer from a brewery known for its sustainable practices. I think that's a good one.
I like that.
Yeah. Unexpected pairing. Pair a beer with a non-traditional snack like popcorn or candy. I mean, we literally just did that.
I feel like we can, if we're going to change the other one to be, if we're going to change the food pairing adventure to be pair it with whatever, I feel like we can remove that.
Okay.
Because somebody could do a theme of like
because you could do like, that's true. Let's cross that one through.
Okay.
Number 18, beer from the past. Find a classic or legacy beer and enjoy its history. That's fun.
Anytime I see a historic beer, I'm like, that's the one.
Right.
And I think that it would encourage other people to try to learn about it as well. So that would be good. I think there was another one further down that I had come up for me, which was like pick a traditional style or something and learn about it. So maybe we can combine those two.
Yeah.
So that would be find a classic legacy or legacy beer and enjoy its history. Yes. Yeah. So I guess that sort of covers that off, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
I'll do / learn about it. And then when we get to the other one, I'll delete it.
Number 19, brewery mascots. Find a beer featuring an animal mascot on the label or branding.
I thought that would be fun.
I mean, go get yourself something from Sure Shop.
True.
Go find a beer with Nielsen on it.
Or Dog's Window has a mascot. Lots of. I'm trying to think who else has a mascot.
Sheep in Wolf's Clothing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but
that made me sad.
The doggy just passed away. Very sad.
I saw it and it made me really sad.
Sending love to them because their doggy was lovely.
I know.
The bestest boy. Number 20, Barrel Bonanza. Taste 3 beers aged in different types of barrels: whiskey, wine, rum, etc.
I like that.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I wanted to keep that.
And I think I would personally try and find some barrels that maybe I haven't tried before because we've done a lot of those. 21, right, so we're into your ones now. Do you want to do these?
Yes, I can do mine. So a lot of mine as well. The ones that I kept were ones that I thought were like pushing people to try something maybe that they like. I think some of them might not be the easiest, but I thought it would be interesting to try to get some. But it would be good writing prompts, good thinking prompts, good putting yourself out there to do something you might not normally do and support local businesses. So the first one I did is called the Real Ale Trail, which is visit a camera awarded pub and or try a local brewery's flagship Real Ale once you're there. So I think it's kind of like a go to a camera awarded pub. I think you can do, so what I suggested was maybe to make it global, we could add an option that if it's outside the UK, it's just an award-winning location or brewery.
Yeah.
For us, it would be maybe a camera awarded pub.
Yeah.
And then try local.
I like that.
Do you like that?
Yep, I like that.
Consider that resolved. So this is the one, the historic beer tour, drink a beer inspired by British brewing history like porter, ESB and mod, and learn about its origins. Because this was giving me lots of like British specifics. So I was kind of thinking you could just do historic styles in general, but I feel like that's covered by yours.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I'm gonna
take that one out.
Strike that out. I quite like this one. The pub garden season. Visit your favourite / local pub garden in each season of the year and enjoy a beer that matches the vibe of the weather / atmosphere.
Yeah, I like that.
So this initially gave me a prompt similar and I tweaked it a little bit because it was like visit multiple pubs. And I was like, actually, I thought it'd be more interesting to visit the same pub every season.
Yeah.
Cool. Should we keep that one?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I can already envision where I want to go.
I just think it'd be nice to like take a photo every season and like see how it changes. Like, is one season busier than others? Is it? And it also depends on the day you go as well. So I thought that could be cool. regional brewery adventure, try a beer from at least one brewery in the UK, England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. I said if you're in the US, it could be try a brewery from as many different states as you can get, or if you're outside the UK, it might be a beer from every different region of your country. But I don't know if that's strong enough to stay in the race.
I quite like that one.
I just thought it encourages you to try more. And again, you police yourself.
I think we need to reword it because it's at least one brewery from each area of the UK. I think that needs to say.
Yeah, it's because it's labelled brewery in the UK, England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Yeah, no, I get you. But if we're gonna I can reword it so it makes sense on a global scale.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep that then. I like this one as well. So market day pairing challenge. So pair a beer with a meal or snack purchased from a local market or independent business. So like a Cornish pasty or a Welsh rarebit or anything of that nature. So it's like you're going to a local business and you're going, cool, I've bought this cheese from this place of this local business and I'm going to take it home and pair it with this thing that I already have.
That works so perfectly in Canterbury. So you go to the Good Shed.
Oh God, yeah, the Good Shed's amazing. Right? You could do it on the spot. That would be so fun.
I have literally done this at the Good Shed.
Because you've got the beers there.
Yeah, we got Bueno Shake from Umbard and we got a chocolate croissant and we sat and ate it. It was like easy peasy.
I think we were there and we were like, oh.
Dunsies. Yeah, it's great. There's also a cheesemonger.
That is the perfect place.
Like there's
and I will say it doesn't. I don't feel like this has to be local to you. I think you could travel someplace else and you could go, actually, this is a local market. Like you could go into London and you could go, this market in London has a beer place and also has food over here. Yeah. Okay, I've combined the two. I think that's good. I think the caveat is actually there is no caveat. Fuck it. I like all of that. Because I was thinking like, make use of a beer you have unless you're at the place and you have to buy the beer. But then it's like, doesn't really matter then, does it?
No, do what you like. Yeah.
All right.
I think that's really good.
Let's keep that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I've got Coastline Beer Hunt, which is try a beer brewed near a coastline with a nautical theme or using coastal ingredients such as seaweed, sea salt, etc. It's like that sounded fun.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Day out category.
Yeah.
Beer engineered. Drink a craft beer using innovative technique. This one I was on the fence about because it sounded cool and would push people to kind of go outside their normal boundaries, but then it's very vague in what innovative techniques are. Because the ones it recommended me, it was like using cryo hops, and I was like,
that's not that new.
We're beyond that. Like this is outdated.
Yeah.
So I think we can probably get rid of that.
I think we can take that one out. Yeah.
Okay. Festival inspired flight, which is create a. I don't even know how that. I don't know.
Tasting flight.
Oh, mini tasting. Yeah, I just copy pasted it from ChatGPT. Create a mini tasting. It says min tasking flight. ChatGPT, you really did not do great there. Create a mini tasting flight featuring beers you'd find at a festival such as GBBF or one of the CBFs. I changed that part so that it was like beer specific.
Do you have to create the flight at the festival?
Well, no, it's create one that it was meant to be one that represents the festival, but I would actually argue, forget the festival, let's rename that, and it should just be create a thematic flight of your choice.
Yeah.
But it has to be based on a theme. Like you have to pick a theme, and it's either beers that you pick out of business, but it has to be served in a flight, or you can do it at home with your own flight.
Yes, I think that's good.
Okay, accepted. Heritage hybrid, try blending a traditional style for your country with a modern craft influence like a hoppy bitter. Kind of feel like that it's interesting in one way, but in another way I feel like it's kind of irrelevant in comparison. Yeah,
I feel like I'm not.
You don't have a lot of control over that as well sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's remove that.
I'll ditch that one.
I thought you'd like this one. It's similar to one that it's similar to one that you did, but it is different because this is not necessarily beer specific. It's called the literary. This was called something else, but the name dropped off. Literary, and I think it was literary something or other started with an L. Drink a beer inspired by literature or poetry. This can include one that you brewed yourself. So
I like that.
You read a book, something that's mentioned in the book or something specific about that book, open to interpretation by how difficult you want to make it.
Yeah.
Link it. There you go. There was Spooky Sips, that's number 31, which is during Halloween or bonfire night, drink a beer with a spooky or seasonal theme like a pumpkin or a smoked porter.
We do this every time anyway.
Yeah, I would argue that I think it would be more interesting to shift and pair and kind of, I like the idea of saying pair one thematic beer for a holiday, for each holiday that you celebrate. So every time you celebrate a holiday, pair it with a beer. And it could be whatever holiday you celebrate.
Yeah.
And so you have a year's worth of holiday period. Just one beer.
Yeah, I quite like that.
Okay. Craft beer pioneers. Try a beer from the brewery that helped shape the craft beer movement in your country. So examples were Thornbridge. You might have, if you're in the UK, it might be Thornbridge's Jaipur. In the US, you might have Pliny the Elder.
Yeah, I quite like that because then you've got to work out who the beer pioneers are.
Yeah,
you don't already know.
Yeah, I thought it'd be interesting to revisit even if you've had it, because maybe you've had it a long time ago and you've been like I had Jaipur ages ago, but like maybe it's worth revisiting.
Yeah.
I had number 33, landmarks, which is find a beer named after a local landmark. So this wanted me to do river specific and I changed it to be landmarks because I thought it'd be more interesting. So an example would be if you're in London, maybe find a beer that's named after the Thames.
Okay.
Or has some tenuous link.
Quite hard.
Yeah, but I think it'd be interesting. So, for example, Rick brought back from York, when he went to York, the Northern Monk Beer Patrons project called York.
Okay.
And I know that's not a specific landmark, but it's got landmarks on it. So I think it doesn't have to necessarily be like named after it, but it has to kind of like represent it.
Okay.
So we could kind of change it so it's not named after it, but maybe like
represent.
Abbeydale does it. I think they've done one anyways that has had local landmarks to them. A few places have done stuff like that. So I think that would be find a beer that represents a local landmark and why. This came up, Black Cab Crawl. So try beers inspired by London culture, such as porter, stouts, or beers referencing iconic landmarks. Wasn't necessarily a fan of that because I felt it was really vague while also being really exclusive. But I liked the core idea of it. So I didn't know if we thought maybe we could... Is
it not the same as the one above?
Yeah. Yeah. I think we can just say no to that.
Yeah.
All right, let me cross that out. So I said some easy ones to tick off. Sharing is caring, number 35, attend a bottle share. Mm-hmm. That will encourage people that haven't done it before. Festival fun, attend a beer festival / event, and that can include if you're doing volunteer work.
Yeah.
37, elemental quest. This one I thought of at my own noodle. Drink a beer representing each of the 4 elements: earth, water, air, and fire.
Okay.
I just thought that'd be fun.
Yeah.
So it could just be, there's something that mentions it in the name if you want to go very obvious.
Yeah.
Or it could be like fire, there's chili peppers in it.
Okay.
Or it could be, to me, there's this link. It's called this thing. It's named after this goddess. I got this from, I got this beer from a brewery that's naming beers after goddesses. And Tartarus, please just tell us what was the secret ingredient, because this is killing me. It's eating away at me. And the goddess that this is named after has to do with this particular thing. So it could be like more directly linked. So I just thought it would be an interesting way to see people's interpretation of that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Do we want to leave it? Do we want to delete it?
Yeah, no, I think leave it.
Okay. I've done 38 foraged fairs. Try making a beer using foraged ingredients as adjuncts only.
Yeah.
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 Only for, so just obviously base ingredients, but...
We're just encouraging people to buy beers from first and last, and I think that's great.
Yeah, or like, to be fair, Mysterious does spruce tips.
Yeah.
Trying to think, Dolphin forages beers as well. So like, there's actually probably like the smaller breweries that do foraging. So yeah, I think that's good. So should we say that that's a beer that's using only foraged adjuncts?
No, I think ingredients is fine.
Okay. 39, Alchemy in Action, brew a beer.
Yeah, I'm not going to get... Well, I might get around to that this year, actually. Do you have to brew it at home?
Up to you. I don't think it matters whether you're brewing it commercially, whether you're brewing it at home, home brewing. Just encouraging people to brew a beer.
Okay, yeah.
But you actually have to... If you are commercially brewing, you actually have to partake in it. You can't just be like...
Yeah.
All I did was dig out a mash tun. You have to do more than just dig out the mash tun.
Do you know what? Some people have never dug out a mash tun. Don't be judging people.
I'm just saying you have to do more than just dig out. You have to at least do you have to at least put in the energy to actually mix it, unless the kit doesn't allow. But then you have to contribute in another way. I've put reels and real ales, so play a movie drinking game, because I really like that from last year's. I think that's going to become a seasonal tradition for me for Hocus Pocus. Should we keep that?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. I put tub thumping. It's just called tub thumping. Drink a whiskey drink, vodka drink, lager drink, cider drink. But I said it doesn't have to be done in one night. And I think that it's open to you to decide whether you want this to be beers that are emulating these drinks or beer cocktails or both.
That's good. Yeah.
It's not just like this was aged in a whiskey barrel. It has to specifically be something. Like it has to be a beer that is like trying to be a whiskey drink. Like a old fashioned.
Okay.
So up to you to decide your level of difficulty. I will obviously do both.
Change that up a bit this year. I like it.
Yeah, I think it's fun. Yeah. And then obviously I put back in from A to Z, which was do the alphabet again. Like and then again, that's your choice whether you want to do brewery names, beer names, both, neither. If you think there's something else that's actually more fun, like ingredients or something, go for it. Go wild. It's up to you. Passports to pints, which is visit a brewery in a city you've not yet been to. That'd be fun. And then the last one, which is Legends on Tap, try beer that's either considered an iconic beer or globally from a global level, or the top 5 rated from Untapped in your country.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. I think we can clean these up.
Yeah.
We've got this. We've got a nice good list.
Yeah. All right. We'll clean that up. We'll make it a PDF and we're going to make it downloadable so you can play along with us. So let us know if you're playing along with us. And then we'll share what we've been doing, because I think that's our challenge for 2025, right?
Yeah, I think that's...
I'm quite pleased with that.
I am as well, because I think a lot of them feed into my personal goals.
So, so she's pleased with that.
I am pleased with that.
All right, well, we've done another long episode, listeners.
Well, by the time you cut out all the eating and the bottle opening and the photoing and everything else, it should end up under the 2-hour mark. But there you go. Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year, everybody.
If there's anything you think is missing, let us know.
Well, Tori, if people want to get hold of you and let you know about things they think are missing, where can they get hold of you?
You can let us both know. If you think that any of this is like not, if you're like, absolutely hate that one's too easy, that one's too hard. Don't do that one. Definitely do this one. You've forgotten about this other one. That would be really cool. Any of those. If you've got any suggestions, I did ask people, and the ones that I got were more in response to the beer questions than the goals. So if you've got any of the goals you want added or removed, please let us know, because there's still time for us to edit at this point. Let us know on Instagram and Facebook at A Woman's Brew, or you can email us links to other beer challenges that you think we should try in 2025 at awomansbrewpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to talk to me about how lengthy my beer goals are and how I challenge myself too much, and you're like, girl, take a break, calm down, you can find me on Instagram at adventures_in_hoptimism, or you can email me at adventuresinoptimism@gmail.com. Joe, if people want to purchase a kit for that, where can they? Just remember, your bingo card is not valid until after this episode. If they want to purchase a kit for that, where can they?
If you want to find out where to get that beer and chocolate pairing kit, I've got a Valentines inspired one as well, so that's coming up soon.
Do I get it free of charge?
I'll give you one free of charge. You can have.
I'll promote it. Yeah. To all of my following.
You get the influencer rate. If you would like to find out where you can get these kits that I do, you can get hold of me. I am Love Beer Learning on Instagram. You'll also find me on Facebook, but I'm mostly on Instagram. You can also come to my website, where there are some articles about beer and cheese pairing and about different beer and food. So come there. There's some beer and cooking articles as well. That's lovebeerlearning.co.uk, or you can email me lovebeerlearning@gmail.com. All right, there is beer and food all over my desk right now. So let's go finish these.
Cheers.